Hi, everybody. This is Laura Baker. Um, I'm here to present to you inquiry-based grammar instruction using the Patterns of Power format. I hope this is working correctly. I am brand new at doing online PD. Um, Sometimes our best laid plans don't work out the way they're supposed to, but I've been very excited using Patterns of Power in a classroom that I've been co-teaching in. And it's really exciting to see, plus learning different ways that I can modify it to support my L's. I'm not sure if anybody's live with me. If anybody is, welcome. Just a little bit about me. This is my third year teaching ESL. Previously, I worked as a literacy specialist, only worked in K through 5. So I'm going to get right to our slideshow presentation. Or I'm going to try to get right to our slideshow presentation. Okay. Let me try this one more time. Okay. It's been working when I've practiced, of course, before. So let me try one more time. Okay, that's what I want. Sorry about the holdup. Okay. So 5 o'clock, inquiry-based grammar instruction using patterns of power. Here's just a little quote of think about how kids learn and how they grasp onto concepts. Okay, so inquiry-based learning, it's not so much the whole pieces of inquiry-based learning. I know it goes much more beyond than what we're doing with patterns of power, but it's the active learning. And as I introduce the invitational process, you'll see what I mean. But it's, letting kids kind of discover things for themselves, which is really where the interest lies. I'm not doing really any heavy lifting at the beginning. They're just kind of exploring and discovering language when we present these lessons. So this is how it all began. This year, we've been given a lot of freedom on trying new things. We have a new administration this year, and we've been given the freedom to try new things, try things out, in effort to seek best practice for kids. And I had been coming across Jeff Anderson's work for a year or two, and I bought the Patterns of Power book, and I really wanted to try it out with a class. So there's one class in particular that I support frequently, as they have, or she has a lot of L's in her classroom. And so I had presented this idea to her. And in order to kind of build it up, because if you can imagine telling a bunch of students you're going to be teaching them grammar, first of all, they probably don't even know what the word grammar means at this point, but you would also probably hear a lot of groans. So I wanted to make it fun and exciting. So I started out with actually putting an invitation on all of their desks, just to kind of build up the excitement for we were going to be doing something special for only their class. So this is Jeff Anderson, and these are two of the books that I have. I can't recommend purchasing them. Any, they're crucial books for me as far as my teaching goes, and just a fun, exciting way to teach grammar. The book Mechanically Inclined, I would say it's more for the middle school level. So if you're working with the older students, that would be a really great place to start, with the organized grammar instruction, also with the inquiry piece. And then Patterns of Power, which I'm going to stop this for a second and hopefully be able to get it right back. Oh no, I should have left it alone. Sorry. So hopefully to just kind of show you the book right here. Lots of tabs in it. It goes through, the whole invitational piece. It has all these different great lessons in here by subject area, organized subject area. For example, you can see chapter 6 is all about teaching verbs, and then there's the different parts of verbs. So this book is really recommended for grades 1 through 5. But what's nice when you go into the book, for example, what do sentences do, which is one of the earlier. Hi, Jody. I see that you're here. When you go into the sentences, it starts to, kind of has the lessons laid out for you. For example, giving you the focus phrase can give you the mentor sentence and the different steps and different ideas to do each. So it reminds me sort of the Jennifer Saravallo book, where it's so nicely organized. It's so teacher friendly. I know a lot of people actually will make it spiral bound, but they actually do sell it spiral bound now. So I can't recommend enough getting this book by Jeff Anderson and Whitley LaRocca, who is a literacy specialist, literacy coach in Katy, Texas. So I'm sure some of my ESL colleagues know her. But everything you need to do this process would be in that book. So I am going to try to go back to my slideshow. Well, this time will be a little bit easier. Okay. Okay. So that is Jeff Anderson's work. He's also somebody you can follow on Twitter. It's Right Guy Jeff. Yeah, I think Right Guy Jeff. And he actually has a lot of different videos showing teaching the process. So now I just want to go through the process a little bit and talk about how I've made it accessible for my L. So here's the class that I'm working with. There's 19 students, 8 are identified Ls. We have 2 newcomers. One just started about a month ago, and the other one was brand new at the beginning of the year. So the whole idea of the lessons is they're supposed to be about 10 minutes each. And I know sometimes we hear about things are supposed to be mini lessons, but they're not really true mini lessons. These really do stay around 10 minutes unless I take it up a notch. Just for when I was first teaching the invitational process, it took about 20 minutes. Especially with my Ls, I want to make sure that it's really understandable to them before I move on. So it took a little bit longer, but once that process was in place, then we were good to go. Sometimes it's even, shorter than 10 minutes. So with the teacher, we had to try to find a way to fit it in. So it does come off of her writing workshop. But there's different ways you can build it in, but it's real, just kind of quick, dirty. We were actually able to make a lot of connections to the writer's workshop. For example, if we did a lesson on capitalization and, maybe they were talking about capitalizing the title in their writing workshop, but she was able to make a lot of connections. So it's great if you if you are in a push-in model where you can be able to, work with a supportive teacher to, help launch this and make it happen. Okay, so here's the actual process, and we're just going to look at it step by step. So there's invitation to notice, invitation to compare and contrast, invitation to imitate, invitation to celebrate, and finally, the last one that's a little cut off is invitation to edit. So I taught these day by day, and then after it's in place, the students, I keep them hung up in the classroom, but the students know which one to expect is coming. So here's invitation to notice. This is really where I say is the inquiry part, because you really just start off with, what do you notice? And being that I do work with a lot of L students, I also made my own sentence starter. So I noticed that, and on those days, I would actually hang them up on the board. So really, you just kind of let students explore the mentor phrase. So in this case, the mentor phrase is, it's not the pork chops or the mashed potatoes. It all starts when I'm forced to eat peas. So I started at the beginning, my little, what I display on the whiteboard was not this fancy, but as I progressed in making supports, I would try to actually include at least the cover of the book. And if I could actually get the page, I would include the page. Anything to help the students understand the mentor sentence. We also, in the very beginning, a lot of the things that they noticed, being they were at the beginning of the year, second graders, is, like they might look at that and see, I see the word art in starts. So they were finding like little words embedded in words. So over time, I geared their conversation more to, we said, the nitty gritty of the sentence. And really what they're supposed to be exploring is, what is the author doing? What do they notice? And, why is the author doing what they do? The conversation has grown exponentially. There's a photo I'm going to show in a few slides, and it will actually show some of the things that the kids notice, but it's grown a lot, the conversations that they're having. And this is just, casual conversation on the rug. The students love to come up. They love to point to a sentence. They all were excited about seeing the ... because they just had finished their narrative writing unit. And that's one of the craft moves they learned. So they were excited to see a real author was using ... Okay. So making it, okay. So with the ESL support is, again, oops, my sentences are my slides are out of order. This one's, okay. That's supposed to be for compare and contrast. So compare and contrast is when, I'm going to go back to this one. Compare and contrast is actually an example right here. So you're taking the mentor phrase. In this case, this was for the subject and verb, the 2-word sentence. So you're taking the sentence dragonfly swoop, and then you're creating a imitation sentence for compare and contrast. It's also to support the kids for the third step of being able to imitate. So with Toddler's Wobble, knowing that many of my L's do not have a younger sibling, I was thinking that they're not going to be familiar with the word wobble. And so I was able to embed a little video of a cute little toddler walking, which, as this is a picture, is not going to show, but the kids got to see the little video of the kid walking. But I also use videos for other things. We just did a sentence about a ballerina, Anna Pavlova. And I actually had never heard of her before either. But just to make it more connectable to the students, I actually found a video of her dancing. And so I was able to play this little ballet clip for the kids. And, they all thought it was really neat because it looked very old fashioned. But they were very, they were fascinated by it. So I try to embed videos where I can to support. Sometimes with the compare and contrast sentences, if I know there's words that the kids aren't going to know, I put in the picture support so that way they can grasp. And also, it can be like a vocabulary. So, yes, use the compare and contrast to compare the mentor sentence to an imitation, which also supports them for their invitation to imitate. Okay, so here is another example of one I did. The focus phrase I always do in red, so it helps remind the students what our focus is on the lessons. And basically, the lessons take about a week and a half because I don't teach it every single day. I teach it 4 days in a 6-day cycle. So we have the focus phrase up there. There's the mentor sentence about chrysanthemum. And then I did a compare and contrast sentence using one of the students' names. And that's myself dressed as a clown. And so I had the picture of me as my alter ego Daisy when I'm a clown in a parade. So I use, the color to set apart the focus phrase. And that's after our invitation to notice, every lesson will have the focus phrase in red just to keep it consistent and also to help the students remember this is what we are learning. Also, when possible, use the students' names in the examples. Sometimes I use the imitation sentence available in the book. Other times I create my own, depending on what our focus is. So, invitate. We teach the kids use your reader's eyes to study the author's pattern. So, what exactly is the author doing? And then to look around us to get ideas for creating the sentences. And so they try to use the author's pattern. And the big step, the one we're still definitely working on, is reread the imitation to make sure it makes sense. And so this is the paper that I hand out. The way that I help support the students, depending on the skill that we're working on, I might have them work with partners. I might have them be a small group. I might have them work solo. Again, assessing from the first few days, like what type of support do they need. So they all get the sheet. Recently, we just did the 3-word sentence. And so I actually, because the kids all seem to really grasp it, I had the kids write, I asked them to do 3 different sentences, one on each line. So it depends on what the skill, and then also I can, differentiate it for the groups as they're working or offer different levels of support. If they're working solo, I'm usually having them work at their desk, so I can just go around and give them different levels of support as needed. For my newcomer who started last week, you'll see I actually allowed her to do a few of her sentences in Portuguese. But I could also give her a sentence starter depending on what the skill is that we're working on. Okay, so invitation to celebrate. This is the big day. First of all, sometimes I do a celebration where I just put the students' work up. Here they were talking about plural nouns. So you can see a couple of the kids, they have the ... So that was connected to the lesson about the mashed potatoes and not wanting to eat peas. So you can see how some of them incorporated that pattern, others did not. Really what I was making sure is the kids had at least one plural noun, and they also had to tell me which one was the plural noun. Um, and if you can see the one, Caribou, also called reindeer, live in the coldest part of our planet, the student was actually connecting it to content that they were learning about caribou. So that was really neat that she was able to incorporate that into her sentence. Another thing I did, just being the fun teacher that I can be at times, is when we actually started, is I bought these little celebration blowouts for the kids. And so after a student would come up to the front of the room and read the sentence, they would all get to blow their horn. Certain times we don't do the horn because I can tell that the horn's just going to set them over the edge. And again, since I'm borrowing the class, I don't want to return the students all crazed to the teacher. So we do the horns sometimes, and they have a lot of fun little, celebration movements they do in the class. So sometimes we'll do that. The student will share their sentence, and then they will get to choose which celebration they want. So there's different ways that we try to celebrate their great work. Another way that we celebrate, and this is what we actually did this past week, is the sentence Smackdown that comes directly from Jeff's books. And the idea is to really find out or write the subject and the verb in the sentences, and then they come up and they actually smack it down on the board. More fun, I have embedded Thunderstruck to play in the background, just to kind of add to the excitement of what we're doing. But the kids are so engaged in this work. And what was really neat about it when we did it, as I said, is we have our newcomer. Oh, there's the what we notice. So you can see the kids notice many different things. So again, some of the earlier discussions was about word well words, but then they're getting more into the actions, the verbs. They know uppercase for starting a sentence, that kind of thing. So here the kids are in their groups, or a sentence was read and they had to identify what is the subject and what is the verb, or what is the who and what of the sentence, and what did that person do, or what did that thing do. So this is what was really, really cool. And this only happens because the students actually have that understanding of a subject and verb. So for my little girl, Eloa, I did tell her she could write 2 sentences in Portuguese and only try 1 sentence in English. And so she wrote the sentence, and she's still pretty shy about speaking in front of the class, which is totally normal for where she is as an English learner. And so I told the students, by using their knowledge of how subjects and verbs work, that I wanted them to try to figure out as a group what the subject was and what the action was. We did tell them, I did have her read it to them in Portuguese, and I tried to read it again. And, of course, she corrected me a couple times on my pronunciation, which was totally okay. And I thanked her for helping me speak Portuguese, but I told them the sentence in English too. So using that information to see if they could transfer over where was our subject and where was our verb, which they did such a good job on that. And you can see over on the side, we have the verb he, and they actually wrote he underneath it. But it was just such a neat way to incorporate Eloa into the activity, and she was really happy. I mean, she's thriving so much in the class. I can't say enough about this amazing girl. But it was just a really neat way to kind of bring it all together, but also for the kids to really show what they know about how the subject and the verb work. So that's that's essentially it for the patterns of power. Other things, oops, I want to just do my last, make sure I give credit. Oh, Right Guy Jeff and Whitney LaRocca. That's their Twitter handle. I do have this, I think, on the YouTube channel. So,
Hey, Laura, can you hear me?
yes, I can.
Yay. So I just have a quick question. And Jody Knopf and I are chatting there's a chat. I don't know if you can see the group chat. There's one for people who are watching, and I posted
Right.
a couple things there. But I think Laura and I, no, you're Laura. Jody
Yeah.
Knopf is in there with me.
Oh gosh, I see. Yeah, now I
Yeah,
see
you
it.
see, Jody and I are just kind of chatting on the side how much we love the colors and the visuals and all of this stuff that you're using. And I wanted to show you that I have my book here.
Yay!
That was in Jeff Anderson, the best. He's so fantastic. And
Yes.
I got mechanically inclined a long time ago. And you know Ton Wynn. I don't know if you follow Ton.
Yes.
He's got a great post where he uses Jeff's mechanically inclined, like the shopping cart express lane editing from that book, and he's got a video of his students doing it and everything. So I really appreciate that you have visuals of your kiddos using this, because I haven't had a chance really to work in this book very much, but I love it, and I bought it on the spot when I found it. So I just wanted a clarification. Like I just went to 4.6, history of capital importance. So capitalizing historical periods and events. And the way he has the book laid out, it looks like every time he teaches something new. Okay, so I'm on page 86 for anybody who also has this book. Yeah. So I just want to understand. It looks like to me, I heard you say at the beginning that these truly can be 10-minute lessons. So every time you do one of these, is the idea that you start with a focus phrase, and then there's an invitation to notice, and then there's a compare and contrast, and then there's an invitation to all of that?
I don't even start with the focus phrase.
Oh, really?
And I probably didn't explain that clear enough. No, really what it is the mentor sentence is just put up on the board, on the sheet that I make, or it could be handwritten on a chart paper. But I just put that up on the board. And then what I do after is they kind of, just through their discussion, they could be telling me, oh, I noticed the capital letter. Oh, I noticed the punctuation, whatever they notice. And if they're not getting to what's going to be the focus phrase, then you just kind of guide them with questions.
Yeah.
About, like you might try to look, if they're not saying, pointing out that the Great Depression, which this lesson I didn't do just because it's, I would say for as second graders.
Yeah, this is more advanced.
Need to know that.
Yeah.
But like if it was working with a fifth grade class and they, have some understanding of the Great Depression, I would, say, oh, did anyone notice how the Great Depression is capitalized? Why do you think that is? So really they're having all the discussion. I'm just standing there as a facilitator, and I'm usually writing down the things they notice. But like I said, since I've been doing this since October, like their conversations are getting deeper and deeper. Like they can tell me now, like, if they notice the ED, it's irregular.
It's just so much more student centered. And the other thing I've seen Jeff present more than once now. He's just so fabulous. And the thing that I really loved was it was just such an aha for me, not to put up those sentences like I used to and have kids find out what's wrong with the sentence.
Right.
He lifts things that are right. Like if they really like a sentence when we were reading, let's lift that sentence and we can talk about what we notice about it. And so this sounds very much in line with, or that sounds very much in line with why your kids are talking so much. It's just so much more student focused, and the language load is on the kids.
Right.
They're the ones. And so I don't doubt, I just warmed my heart so much that your newcomer little girl is doing well.
Oh my gosh.
And that you honored her Portuguese. Oh my gosh, Laura, what a fantastic.
Yeah, it was so exciting. And like, it almost brought me to tears just seeing her to be able, first of all, because like I said, where she is as an English learner, it's totally appropriate that she really gets nervous about speaking in front of
Absolutely.
the class.
Mhm.
Because I mean, the fact that she even says anything to me is amazing. But just, for her to have that confidence to share the sentence with the class and, take the chance. And then, she got to go up and smack the sticky note on the
Yeah.
board. It
What
was
a
so
win for
exciting.
her. What a win. Now, Jody, I don't know why Jody's not talking. She's typing. I'm sorry, I keep saying Jody. Yeah, it is Jody. That
Yeah.
is Jody in there. She's saying all kids benefit from that color coding and stuff. And she says, as a formal English teacher, I could relate to the grammar instruction. I always did that when grading papers. I underlined what I liked, and kids didn't even know how to react to that. It's a technique I learned in grad school, focus on the positive. So absolutely, it's always an asset-based mindset. Oh, she says her mic and her
Yeah, I
camera
can see it.
settings
They're
are
off.
off. That's why. Hey, well, we'll get you in Mad PD next year. Jody needs to present, right?
Yes.
She needs to have her own
Everybody
session.
needs to take the leap sometime.
Everybody. I was so inspired that you did that. And I made you go over time. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's
But
okay.
I was really looking forward to this. And my kid, I had a mom moment where my kids needed me. And I was like, no, it's 5 o'clock, Sandra. I have to go.
Thank you so much for helping out.
No, I loved it. I was still listening, even though I wasn't at my computer. And I was excited to see that Jody's in here as well. And she's saying we're all moms.
Yeah, my daughter's been told to leave the house. I just couldn't trust that she wouldn't come in and bother me.
Well, we just find it very inspiring, and that you're sharing over there on the ELL, the leading ELLs in Facebook, Pam Broussard's Facebook group. I mean, it's just such a great collaboration. Jody shares a whole bunch too. So thank you so much for doing Mad PD.
Thanks, Carol.
I know a lot of people are going to benefit from this session, but I'll let you
so
finish up your session.
Okay, thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jody. Thanks, Carol, for helping out.
Yeah, are we done?
Yep, we're done.
Okay. Well, bye.
Thanks, everybody, tuning in. I hope you, like I said, purchase this book. Check it out.
Yep. Here, hold yours up, and I'll hold mine up, and we'll take a picture of it later. Here, hold yours up. There you go.
Oh, and this one.
And we'll tag Jeff. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.